John Livingston was born in Fuzhou, China in 1923, the youngest of 3 children. He lived in the country until the age of 12 when his family moved to the U.S.
The Chinese culture was deeply ingrained in Dad, and he had such respect for the Chinese people. And he's talked a lot about the environment in which he grew up in Fuzhou, China. And it was just so unique for an American child to have that background. And I think that, if anything, led to his having such an open mind about cultures, about people, and not being judgmental at all about somebody where, no matter where their background was, he was very welcoming of anybody he met.
John went on to attend Yale University, where his studies were interrupted by the war. Given his unique understanding of the Chinese culture and being fluent in Chinese, he was recruited to serve in the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, which later became the CIA. John went back to Yale shortly after the war ended and graduated in 1947 with a degree in engineering. In 1966, John moved his family to Dallas, Texas, and a short time later formed the consulting firm of Livingston and Associates. He also purchased a small manufacturing company in Dallas that developed labor-saving devices for use with infrastructure construction. A love of skiing, the outdoors, and Colorado brought John and his family to Denver so that John could run a new housing company. Later, John left that organization in order to once again run his Texas-based manufacturing firm, which he relocated to Colorado. John continued to expand his business interests before retiring in 1990 as board chairman and handing the reins to the company president, Pat Livingston. John's life didn't slow down much during retirement because the volunteer work he began years earlier in Denver became a bigger part of his life, especially his involvement with the Bonfils Stanton Foundation.
He embraced risk, not in a foolish way at all, but in knowing that by thinking beyond where we were, that things were possible.
I remember one meeting we had, he was hearing a report from our director on how well someone had spent $10,000, and he said, so why are we only giving them 10? And he said, let's give them 25,000 and let's give it to them for 3 years. Let's commit 3 years in advance. And I thought that was a very unique way to look at it and very helpful to the grantees.
John's role with the foundation continued to expand. One of his biggest projects with the organization was centered in Lakewood, when the city was struggling with development of the Civic Center and what became Belmar on the former Villa Italia site, land that became foundation property through the estate of Ed Stanton.
John had the vision of seeing, well, we tried it that way and it didn't work, why don't we try something different? At the same time, he realized that it wasn't just John Livingston, it wasn't just the Bonfils Stanton Foundation, it was what is good for the community. And I really respected that.
John's commitment to help the community lives on through the Livingston Fellowship Program, established in 2004. The Foundation's trustees select up to 5 fellows each year and award them $25,000 to enhance their leadership skills.
He also said on more than one occasion that he thought that the work of nonprofit leaders was some of the most challenging and difficult work that there was to be done in a community, and some of the most important work.
Pat Livingston was born in Manila in 1934, where her father, Marion, worked as a civil engineer and general contractor. Pat attended public schools in Portland and then Reed College, where she majored in experimental psychology. Pat's career included working for the Air Force as a statistical accountant in Germany, but it was a different job in New York City that led to a career-changing decision. A New York Post editor invited Pat to help write a business section, a challenge she accepted. While covering a conference on human needs and housing in Topeka, Kansas, she met John Livingston, who was presenting at the conference for Whirlpool. A little over a year later, they were married, and when the family moved to Dallas in 1966, Pat continued to be a pioneer for women in business journalism. But in 1971, John had a plan to convert this nationally recognized journalist into a manufacturer.
And the comments that I so fondly remember about my mom was what a savvy businesswoman she was. And it always struck me that people would remember and remind me that I am lucky to have a mother who is truly an accomplished businesswoman.
It was Pat's work with the Colorado Women's College that eventually brought her to DU. After the college became a part of the university in the early 80s, Pat was elected to the DU Board of Trustees.
She could always tell me, or if I saw, looked like to me something coming, I'd go to Pat and say, Pat, what do you see? Do you see a turnaround? Do you see a dive? And she always got it right.
Pat has served the Josef Korbel School as a member of its Social Science Foundation, but the bulk of Pat's work at DU has been as a member and then chair of the Building and Grounds Committee, a group that helps shape the look of the campus. Pat's love of the university is obvious when she has the opportunity to explain how new construction has improved the learning environment for DU students. Without her countless hours of work, the university would look very different.
I've never known a couple more respectful of one another, more supportive of one another, and more in love with one another. They were really an inspiration to the whole community and to me.
He adored her and held her in such regard and esteem. Was very proud of her talents and the work that she did in her own company and the partnership that they had through that.
John's legacy to our community will continue to live through the Livingston Fellows. Aren't we fortunate, though, that Pat's still with us to do good things?
The Josef Korbel School of International Studies is proud to present the 2009 Humanitarian Award to John and Pat Livingston.